Hey, my name is Ben, and if you don't know me, I'm an accent and pronunciation coach, and I help speakers of English, non native speakers of English, improve their accent, pronunciation, and communication skills in English so they can speak with more clarity, more fluency, and more confidence. And I particularly help Spanish speaking professionals living in the United States and other English speaking countries. And in this video, what I want to do is I want to share my story with you. So I'm not going to edit this video because I want it to feel like a real conversation. So as you can see, I have my cup of tea right here. And like I said, I'm not going to edit the video because I'm not there, you're not here. And I really want this to feel like a real conversation between you and me. So let me tell you my story. Let me tell you why I became an accent and pronunciation coach, why I love doing what I do, and yeah, let's get started. Okay, so like I said before, I'm not going to edit this video, so I apologize in advance if you hear, I don't know, people speaking in the background, dogs barking, cars passing by, driving by, because like I said, I'm not going to edit this because I want it to feel like a real conversation. So I apologize in advance for that. So I want to start. I think I'm going to divide my story into three parts because that's how my brain works. I like to be very organized. So let's talk about part number one, and that's when I was a kid. I was exposed to English because I have family in the United States and I also have family in Australia. So that's when I started picking up my first words and phrases in the language. And that's when I started, I would say, maybe using the language, and when I started becoming more interested in English. And when I was in school, the school that I went to had an exchange program. So there were a lot of students from different countries, mostly the United States, and they didn't speak Spanish when they first arrived here. So of course I needed to use English with them because I wanted to be their friend and I wanted to communicate with them. So I needed to use English for that. So I started using all the words and the phrases that I had picked up when I was a kid. And it was great to see that they understood what I was saying. And that's when I became even more interested in pronunciation and also acquiring a more American accent because I really enjoyed the way they sounded. I really liked their accent. So I said, oh, this is fun. I like to imitate my friends and the other students from the United States who were studying in my school. So that's when I decided that I wanted to become a translator and interpreter, and I think this is the second part of my story because, like I said, these students didn't speak Spanish, so they needed someone to translate for them, and I was doing that. They would speak in English and I would translate the phrases, or whatever they needed to say. I would translate that into Spanish because, by the way, I was born and raised in Santiago, Chile, so my native language is Spanish. And I realized that it was fun. It's something that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed translating for them and helping people communicate, people who didn't share the same language. It was fun for me. So that's when I decided that I wanted to become a translator and interpreter for the United Nations in New York. So when I graduated high school, I majored in translation and interpretation. And the funny thing is, you make plans and then life happens, right? So when I was in college, we had phonology classes, pronunciation classes, and I was completely in love with that because I realized that by changing the way that you use your speech organs, you can change the way you sound. And that was fascinating for me. So that's when I also started improving my English and my accent, and that's when I started picking up a more American accent. So I was exposed to the American accent when I was in school, in high school, because there were a lot of students from the United States, but I didn't start changing my accent or acquiring a more American accent until I got into college, which is when I started having phonology classes, pronunciation classes, and that was fascinating for me. And so after that, I decided that I didn't want to be a translator and interpreter anymore. I mean, I did want to do that, but I didn't want to work for the United Nations in New York anymore. That was my goal first. And then when I started having phonology classes and pronunciation classes, I realized that what I really wanted to do was to teach English, but I wanted to do it with an emphasis on pronunciation. And the reason I wanted to do that is because pronunciation is really the most neglected area in the English speaking or in the English teaching industry, right? And I think this is going to be the last part of my story, part number 3. This ties into the last part of my story, because when I realized that pronunciation is the most neglected area in the ESL industry, that's when I said, this is what I want to do. I want to teach English, and I want to help people improve their accent and their pronunciation, because English is a very difficult language when it comes to pronunciation. You speak it one way and you write it in a completely different way, so it doesn't make any sense, right? You can't trust the spelling. So I said, okay, I want to teach English with an emphasis on pronunciation. So when I graduated university, when I graduated, college, I said, okay, I want to get certified to teach English. And I started incorporating everything that I had learned in college, everything that I had learned about phonology and pronunciation. I started incorporating that into my classes with my students. And I could see that they loved it because they had never studied pronunciation before. And I could see that they felt more comfortable, more confident about the way they sounded, because when you know what to do, you feel more confident, right? Because if no one has taught you how to use spoken English, right? If nobody has taught you the rules, or I wouldn't say rules, but guidelines of English pronunciation, because we don't have rules, unfortunately, then you're lost, right? But when you start understanding how pronunciation works, that's when you become more confident, when you understand what you need to do, what you don't need to do to sound and speak more clearly, right? So yeah, that was what I wanted to do. So I graduated and I started working for different companies here in Santiago, and I worked as a translator and interpreter for a while, but I decided that I wanted to teach. So I got a teaching job after I got certified, and I started teaching, and I've been doing that for the last 10 years. And then when the pandemic hit the world, which was a disaster for so many people, I decided that I wanted to do something more, because I had a lot of free time. I was not commuting to work anymore, so I said, okay, I have more extra time. And I said, okay, I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to start my own business, because I really love pronunciation. It's what I really love. So I said, okay, I'm going to see what I can do so I can teach online, so I can reach more people, because I also wanted a more flexible schedule. I wanted more freedom to do what I want to do. And I just didn't want to work for someone else. I think that that's one of the things that the pandemic changed for a lot of people. There's so many more people now trying to create and do or set up their own online businesses, and that's great. I think that's fantastic, right? Not working for someone else, working for you. You're your own boss. I think that's amazing. So anyway, I'm going off topic here, but in 2020, that's when I started investing in myself, and I realized that there were a few things that I could do to start teaching online, and I started doing that. I started advertising myself and my services online. It was not easy. And then I came across this amazing course that taught me how to create a website, how to create, marketing, digital marketing, but I'm not going to go into detail. We don't need to know that. But that was my very first course in 2020 or 2021, if I'm not wrong, 2021, in May 2021. And that's when I created my website. That's when I created everything that you see now, my website, my YouTube channel, my Instagram account. And that's when I started getting more students, more clients, and that's when I started teaching online. And when I I forgot what I wanted to say. Oh, right. And that's when I created my online business. And yeah, it was great. It was great. It's been great. It's been difficult. It's I've had ups and downs, and I have a lot of projects in mind. I want to help and reach more people. I want to launch a digital course for Spanish speakers, by the way. I want to make it very specific to Spanish speakers. So in my one-on-one coaching, I help non-native speakers in general, but in my in my digital course, I want to help Spanish speakers exclusively. And I am going to launch that course soon, so stay tuned, especially if you're a Spanish speaker. So, and yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. After that, I think that, and so yeah, I mean, that's what I've been doing ever since I started my online business. I do work for a university here, but my plan is to start working for that university and work for myself full time. Not because I don't like the university, but because, I want to work for myself. I want to be my own boss. I think a lot of people want that. And so, yeah, that's my story. And if you have any questions about me, if there's something that you would like to know, then just, ask me a question in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And like I always say, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next pronunciation video. Oh, and if you want to know how I can help you, go to my website, absolutefluency.com. So have a great day, and I'll talk to you in the next video. And let me drink some tea because I haven't drank any tea so far. So anyway, have a beautiful day. Bye.